Hey y'all, and welcome to the new book releases for the week of January the 8th. We have an interesting list full of conclusions, series conclusions for you guys. We're going to be starting with fantasy, but don't worry, there is timestamps for all the genres. I'm Morgan. If this is your first time here, I hope you enjoy this list and we'll come back for more. First up in fantasy is going to be The Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake, and this is the conclusion to the Atlas series. Even though it's a trilogy, it's a series. In this one, we follow a group of postgraduate students who have been inducted, or are hoping to be inducted, into the Alexandrian Society, a very select group of individuals that only pick from the best of people with magical abilities to protect the Library of Alexandria. And in the first book, you are following this new initiating class as they are trying to work together and also compete against each other through this year. It's a year. I don't remember. But this is the conclusion book of that series. For tons of people have been fans and loved it. So if you are one of those, it's coming out this week for you to go pick up. Next up, our other conclusion is The Slain Divine by David Dalgadesh. This one is the conclusion to the Vagrant God series that started with the Bladed Faith. In this, we are following a usurped prince who had to watch his whole family and even his gods be murdered when an invading country came to their islands, and he has since become this vigilante of justice for this rebel, we'll call it rebel cause, even though they are people who have already lost their lands and everybody's just trying to fight back against this conquering force. And he slowly is supposed to find out through the first book that, maybe the ideals of what these people are telling him is not exactly what's going to get him what he thought he was. All the book covers, though, are awesome for this series. I've started The Blade of Faith, but I have not finished it. I had to put it down. So I don't know. I will go back eventually and probably read this series because it sounds amazing. And like I said, the covers are awesome. Next up, we have Sanctuary of Shadow by Aurora Asher? Maybe. This is supposed to be a dark, epic fantasy. Some follow their destiny, others fall for it. For humans, Salazar's is a place of mystery and wonder. For Harrow, it is a place to hide from those who slaughtered her entire clan, a haven where she can disguise both her abilities and who she really is, until he arrives. He has no recollection of who or even what he is. He only knows that he's a monster, with wings and powerful abilities never seen before. But beneath the layers of rage and isolation, one glimpse into those inky black eyes reveals a soul that calls out to the loneliness in Harrow. And so she chooses him. She is drawn to the mystery of him, her unquenchable need for his kiss, and as powerful enemies align and conspire against them, Harrow knows their only hope is to escape. The next one up is one that is more of a fantasy romance, but not romantasy, because it's a paranormal romance and it feels slice of life too. Or not like it takes place here. It's The Fae Hotel by Vermilion Bain. This is the first one in the Enchanted with the Enemy series. A mysterious inn hidden away on the western coast of Washington has asked for help. Avalon, sent to restore the failing reputation of the refuge on the moor, carries a secret that could lead to her own destruction. A secret she's kept since birth, and one that the grumpy, short-tempered innkeeper becomes the first to discover. Eldon is the unwilling manager of a once great and magical hotel that is failing under his inexperienced hand. When he reluctantly requests the help of a hotel management company, he's introduced to Avalon, someone who has more in common with him than either of them knows. Then one that I am highly anticipating is a YA fantasy called Somewhere in the Deep by Tavani Burwa. 17-year-old Crescent Dune is buried under the weight of her dead parents' debt and the ruinous legacy they left behind. The only way she can earn enough money to escape her unforgiving island is by battling monstrous creatures in an underground fighting pit. After a fight goes terribly wrong, she's banned from the pits. Now, hopeless, she is offered a deal. In exchange for an erasure of her debts, she must join and protect a hunting party for a rescue mission deep within the mining caves beneath the island. Crescent is determined to keep her head down and fulfill her role as the dutiful bodyguard, even though she is trapped underground with her childhood enemy and a company of people who would gladly kill her if they knew who her parents were. As they come across creatures she believed only existed in legends, it becomes clear they are in far more danger than she could have imagined. But someone doesn't want her to make it out alive, and she'll have to figure out who before she's left alone in the dark. I'm sorry I messed up the words in that one so much. Then we move into our other big genre, which is thriller. First up is The Night Island by Jane Ann Krentz. This one is the second in the Lost Night Files. It follows a group of women who were at a hotel when something catastrophic happened, but none of them have memories of that night. And in an effort to try to piece together the mystery of what happened to them and everyone else, they started a podcast and sleuthing sort of thing. And now they continue with a disappearance of a mysterious informant leads two people desperate for answers in an island of deadly deception in this new novel of the Lost Night Files trilogy. And this one, I don't know why, but it sounds like it'll be funny. And maybe it's not supposed to, but it just gives this air of it might. Holmes, Marple, and Poe, the greatest crime-solving team of the 21st century, by James Patterson and Brian Sitz. Crime, murder, who you gonna call? In New York City, three intriguing, smart, and stylish private investigators open Holmes, Marple, and Poe investigations. Who are these three detectives with famous names and mysterious, untraceable pasts? Brendan Holmes, the brain, identifies suspects via deduction and logic. Margaret Marple, the eyes, possesses powers of observation too often underestimated. Auguste Poe. Auguste? August. Spelled with an E. The muscle, chases down every lead, no matter how dangerous or dark. The agency's daring methodology and headline-making solves attract the attention of NYPD detective Helen Gray. Her solo investigation into her three unknowable competitors rivals the best mysteries of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, and Edgar Allan Poe. I'm very sorry I can't talk today. Don't know. Next up, though, is The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. And I really enjoyed this one. I read that last month. There's nothing as good as the rich gone bad. When Ruby McTavish Callahan Woodward Miller Kenmore dies, she's not only North Carolina's richest woman, she's also its most notorious. The victim of a famous kidnapping as a child and a widow 4 times over, Ruby ruled the tiny town of Tavistock from Ashby House, her family's estate high in the Blue Ridge Mountains. But in the aftermath of her death, her adopted son Camden wants little to do with the house or the money, and even less to do with the surviving McTavishes. Instead, he rejects his inheritance, settling into normal life as an English teacher in Colorado and marrying Jules, a woman just as eager to escape her own messy past. 10 years later, his uncle's death pulls Cam and Jules back into the family fold at Ashby House. Its views are just as stunning as ever, its rooms just as elegant, but the legacy of Ruby is inescapable. And then we have Argylle by Eli Conway, and this is the one that Apple is already making into either a show or a movie on their streaming platform. A luxury train speeding towards Moscow and a date with destiny. A CIA plane downed in the jungles of the Golden Triangle. A Nazi horde entombed in a remote mountains of southwest Poland. A missing treasure, the 8th wonder of the world, lost for 7 decades. One Russian magnate's dream of restoring a nation to greatness has set in motion a chain of events which will take the world to the brink of chaos. Only Frances Coffey, the CIA's most legendary spymaster, can prevent it. But to do so, she needs someone special. Enter Argylle, a troubled agent with a tarnished past who may just have the skills to take on one of the most powerful men in the world, if only he can save himself first. And finally, we have fiction with The Djinn Waits 100 Years by Shunbum Khan. I hope I said that right. It's a Gothic literary fiction style. Akbar Manzil was once a grand estate off the coast of South Africa. Nearly a century later, it stands in ruins, an isolated boarding house for eclectic misfits seeking solely to disappear into the mansion's dark corridors. Except for Sana. Unlike the others, she is curious and questioning and finds herself irresistibly drawn to the history of the mansion, to the eerie and forgotten East Wing, home to a clutter of broken and abandoned objects, and to the door at its end, locked for decades. Behind the door is a bedroom frozen in time and a worn diary that whispers of the dark past, the long-forgotten story of a young woman named Mina who died there tragically 100 years ago. Watching Santa from the room shadows is a besotted, grieving djinn, an invisible spirit who has haunted the mansion since her mysterious death. Obsessed with Mina's story and unaware of the creature that follows her, Sana digs into the past like fingers into a wound, dredging up old and terrible secrets that will change the lives of everyone living and dead in Akbar Manzil. So it sounds cool. Our last book of the week is You Only Call When You're in Trouble by Stephen McCauley. Is it ever okay to stop caring for others and start living for yourself? After a lifetime of taking care of his impossible but irresistible sister and his cherished niece, Tom is ready to put himself first. An architect specializing in tiny houses, he finally has an opportunity to build his masterpiece, his last shot at leaving a footprint on the dying planet. Assuming, that is, he can stick to his resolution to keep the demands of his needy family at bay. Naturally, that's when his phone rings, his niece, Cecily, the real love of Tom's life, as his boyfriend reminded him when moving out. is embroiled in a Title IX investigation at the college where she teaches that threatens her career and relationship. And after decades of lying, his sister wants him to help her tell Cecily the real identity of her father. Tom does what he's always done, answers the call. Thus begins a journey that will change everyone's life and demonstrate the beauty or dysfunction, or both, of the ties that bind families together and sometimes strangle them. That's all for this week's list. Maybe you found something intriguing to add to your wish list or TBR pile, and you'll check out some of my others and subscribe if you like it. That way you can come back every Monday to find more books to add to that pile. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you're finding something awesome to read today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.